I'm calling the meeting to order 10 a.m. on March 14th, 2026. China, would you do roll call, please?
Yes. Selden,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
Byram,
Here.
Hamachi.
Here.
Great.
Approval of the minutes from our regular meeting of April 9th. Does anyone have any additions, corrections, or can we?
No.
Okay, then they are accepted as submitted. I'd like to welcome everybody to the planning committee meeting. Thank you for attending. We have David here from ELS, and I just wanted to say a couple words about ELS architecture and urban design. It is a well-known Bay Area architectural firm based in Berkeley that focuses on civic, educational, entertainment, recreation, retail, and urban planning projects. The firm has been active for nearly 60 years and is especially recognized for designing public-facing community spaces and large mixed-use developments. Some of their notable projects include the Berkeley Rep Theater Rhoda Theater, the San Francisco Historic Adaptive Reuse Project, the East Oakland Sports Center, UC Berkeley Legends Aquatic Center, and the Hillsdale Shopping Center development in San Mateo. Their specialties include architecture and urban design, historic preservation and adaptive reuse, aquatic and recreation centers, performing art venues, mixed use and retail developments. They are very well known, very respected, and I hope today you will listen to the presentation with an open mind. Please do not interrupt or hold your comments to the member forum, which will be after the presentation. And lastly, I am switching the agenda. Under new business, we're going to do A, C, and then B. So the last part will be on the Gateway and Rockway project. So we have new business, item A, to consider a recommendation to the board to approve a capital project not to exceed 26,000, pardon me? Oh, capital project update, so sorry. Is that going to be you, Ann?
Yes, it is.
All right,
Yes,
here we go.
Great. So I just wanted to go over the activity that's happening with our capital projects program, because we do have some very conspicuous projects happening that I'm sure people want some updates on. So first of all, I'm just going to go down the list and tell you where we are with these. So for the roof, for the pavement program, we have no movement on that as of yet. We usually do that in the last quarter of the year. For the roof replacement program, the Tice Skylight project, we are still working on the contract with an architect, but the board approved that, our ability to enter into an agreement in March. There's no movement on the flooring. We finished the Creekside flooring earlier this year. For the pickleball courts, construction is actually going really well, considering all of the rain days that we had. We're now projecting finish in July. So we just pushed it out for 1 month, but we're confident we'll get it complete within that time frame. And hopefully everybody can just take a gander if you're going down Stanley Dollar and see it going vertical. It's actually a pretty fun process to watch. For the next project, of course, we have an item on the agenda about the RWC admin relocation. Food and beverage, everybody wants to know what's happening with the golden pear. So we are waiting for a final from the health department. There was some equipment issues when they first came out that we had repaired. So hopefully when they're back tomorrow, we'll get it okay to go, and then we'll go into the soft open. So hopefully we'll have some information next week about that. There is no movement on Hillside Park Space Master Plan. Golf course lake liner, we've been working to try to get some bids from different companies on the approach to doing that so we can understand what we may need to budget in the future years. We want to scope it this year and then hopefully do construction on that next year. I have nothing to add to the NetSuite implementation. For golf bridge replacement, in March, we did approve, or the board did approve phase 2 with the engineers for construction document, production, permitting, and support during construction. So right now they're actively working on the construction documents so we can bid that project out. And there's no activity on the remaining projects. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Anne. Sure. All right. I gotta get back to my agenda. Oh, here we go. Okay, now we're on to new business. Who's speaking to the security fencing?
That's me again.
Thank you, Anne.
Great. So the recommendation before the committee today is to consider a recommendation to the board, and there's two parts to this. One of them is an expenditure not to exceed $26,810 for the capital project side of the project. And then on the operating side of the budget, we're asking for approval of a contract that has a value of $11,072, but that's over a 36-month period. So the Stanley Dollar perimeter gate has been a topic of discussion. It's something public safety has been tracking. There were some changes to that point of unlawful incursions due to some things that happened on the private side in Lafayette, where they removed a secondary gate from Lucas Drive. And so after taking a look in how to remedy this and to make sure that we, have appropriate security, our public safety director worked to kind of determine the best type of camera system, if you will, that we could use to kind of keep eyes on that. And so there is a proposal that we have through Securitas with a system that includes the camera equipment and installation. And the nice thing about that is it ties into, it's kind of this on demand, they're always monitoring it so they can reach out to security when something happens. Another part of the capital is the camera pole itself and the installation of that and the gate and fencing. And so the subtotal for the capital part, again, is with contingency is $26,810. And then the 36-month monitoring contract, it's a $307.56 per month, and it's a 36-month term of contract to hold us at that rate. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about that project.
Any questions? Leanne?
So at one point we were talking about attaching the fencing to the PG&E fencing. Is that are we doing that, or did that present any problems?
I think there's a little bit of interface with the PG&E fencing.
Yeah,
it's the gate mechanism that we're going to have to replace.
But it's our bill. It's not part of they're not helping
Correct.
with costs.
Correct.
I have a question. A number of people have expressed concerns about limiting pedestrian access through this. Is that just exactly what is going to happen to pedestrian access if we do it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to our public safety director that knows the mechanics of it a little bit.
Adrienne. Yes, unfortunately, because I know a lot of residents who live up in that mutual use the pedestrian access to go onto Lucas Drive. However, this project will limit that, and you will not be able to go through the opening right now that is there, and that is for many reasons. One is a safety and security reason. We've seen on our camera that people will use that to go around who are not authorized to be in Rossmore and who have committed crimes in Rossmore. So we have that part of it. The other part of it is PG&E has told us they do not want our residents to come through the gate and go onto their property. That's a liability issue for PG&E, and it is their private property, and so we should not be encouraging our residents to do the same. So those are the two main reasons of why it will be closed down.
So that gate has an opening on the right side that is on the decline of the hill. There's brush, but it's available. I mean, are you putting the fence down the hill?
So on our property, that there is no opening on the right-hand side. If you were to go up there and follow the gate north, it goes down the hill and then makes a left and then continues all the way along PG&E's property and our property. That's there. You cannot go around the gate on the right-hand side. And there's barbed wire on the top. On the left-hand side, we're talking about going out of the community, correct, Leanne? Okay, so on the left-hand side is the only area where you can go around the gate.
Okay.
People, they still have access to the trail system though, right down the street from there. There is two trailheads, I think, that are, if somebody wanted to go for a walk on trails that actually are in Rossmore, there's two trailheads right down the street, correct?
Correct.
Do you know I think it's the East Bay Park System is creating a new trail and a new access for us to get to that trail off of Skycrest?
Mhm.
Is that connected in any way to what you're talking about? Like, will people be able, they'll just have to use the Skycrest entrance once they put in a gate or whatever they're doing? Do you know what update on that?
I don't. That would be John T. who handles that, but that you're correct. That's the access point that they talk about is off of Skycrest.
Okay.
Right.
So there are other trails available to people
Oh, absolutely.
besides that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, please.
I move that we consider a recommendation to the board to approve a capital budget expenditure not to exceed $26,810 for the Stanley Dollar Security Fencing and Camera Capital Project. And also to authorize an agreement with Securitas for the remote system monitoring from the operating budget for a total contract value of $11,072.
I'll second.
Yes. Selden,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hamachi.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Approved.
So I think, Kelsey, are you presenting the issue of the short-range transit plan update?
I am. So I am here for the planning committee to consider a recommendation to the board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Fair and Peers for the completion of the short range transit plan update in the amount not to exceed $80,000 to be paid from the capital fund. Just a reminder, an RFP was submitted for the short range transit plan update on March 2nd to evaluate Rossmore's transportation system and recommend future service changes and long-term transit planning. We received proposals from Via Mobility and Fair and Peers. Both proposals were evaluated based on relevant experience evaluating transit services in similar communities and experience addressing senior access to transit. Based on the evaluation, Fair and Peers was identified as the recommended consultant. Fair and Peers completed Rossmore's 2018 SRTP, giving them familiarity with our system and enabling for a more focused and efficient evaluation. The Fair and Peers proposal follows the RFP scope and includes comprehensive review of the current transit service, including ridership trends, post-pandemic travel behavior, and evolving service demand, along with evaluation of the service delivery options such as fixed route, on-demand, and hybrid models, and assessment of operational considerations, including staffing, fleet requirements, dispatch technology, and associated costs. Community outreach will be a key part of their process to understand current service usage, identify unmet needs, and gather feedback on future service priorities and overall transportation demand. Via Mobility's demonstrated adequate experience in transit planning. However, their proposal offered a more generalized approach that could apply to many different agencies and was less specified to Rossmore's community and transit system. And both proposals were presented at similar costs, with Fair and Peers at $80,000 and Via Mobility at $79,980.
Okay. Any questions? Leanne?
So just for residents' benefit, it's basically a 5 or 6 month study.
Correct.
And do you anticipate the board would review the results in, say, January?
Yes, so their process is to be completed by the end of the year, with January being the presentation to the board.
Yes, Adrian.
Okay, I strongly urge, I know a lot of people are very interested in transport in Rossmore. I strongly urge you to read the proposal. It's quite comprehensive. And it shows all the steps that they are going to go through, including how they're going to reach out to the community, both talking with existing transit riders, potential transit riders, and a community survey. Various different workshops to examine exactly the alternatives for people to comment on those, bring their views to it. They have done work for us previously in 2018, and I think even before that. Unfortunately, we didn't implement the 2018 result, partially because of COVID.
We did some of them.
We did some of it, yeah, but not all of it. And COVID sort of screwed everything up, put it mildly. They also have done work for Laguna Woods, our sister community down in Southern California. So they have a good feeling about this arrangement. They also, the team that's going to be doing the work, I was rather impressed by their backgrounds. I'm a Stanford person, and several of them are also, so maybe a bit of a bias. Anyway, they have this, I think there's 5 or maybe 6 involved, and they all have experience that comes to our point, to what we need. One of the members of the team is a Chinese American, speaks Chinese or Mandarin at least, and we have a fairly large Chinese American community here. That may be of an advantage in communicating with people. So I'm very pleased to see this, quite frankly. I've been strongly advocating for us doing something, and this really is the step that we need to take to move it forward. So I'm very much in favor.
Would you like to make the motion to approve?
Well, I just have some more questions.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I assume that all the community input opportunities would be advertised in the Rossmore News multiple times. We would make that conscious effort to bring the community in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this study is just going to be on the transit part, but not on, as I said, there won't be any piece of it that does anything about the regular driving the highway, better ways to set up intersections, stuff like that. It's just for transit.
Correct.
Okay. Any other
Adrian, do you
questions?
want to, well, let's just say that the proposal is attached to the agenda on My Rossmore for those interested in reading it.
Yes, yes. Go to the myrossmore.com, RWC governance, and you'll see the meeting agendas there, and click on that, and then see the actual. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. Who would like to make a motion?
Yeah,
It's for, we've already approved the funding. It's just the last item.
So I move that we recommend to the RWC board to authorize the general manager to execute a professional services agreement with Fair and Peers for the completion of the short-range transit plan update for an amount not to exceed $80,000 to be paid from the capital fund.
I'll second.
Selden,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hamaji.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously approved.
Great. Thank
Thank
you. So Jeff, are you going to introduce the next topic of why everybody's here?
Yes. So thank you, committee, and all of those that are in attendance today. This morning, we want to discuss the Rockview Gateway Dollar House project, kind of the current state of that project. we will be going through some of our project goals, a little bit of a history of how we got here, what we've done thus far, timeline for the project to show you really where we are in the early stages of this project. We're going to review some current alternatives. These are not final alternatives. These are current alternatives that we will be presenting at the open house on May 20th. We'll talk a little bit about funding, and then we'll review the structure of the open house for next Wednesday, and then talk about some next steps. David Massington is here today with ELS, and he's going to go through the PowerPoint presentation. Before I turn it over to him, just a reminder of the project priorities and the goals, what we're trying to accomplish. And the first is to address the current conditions of the offices at 800 Rockview as identified in the facilities master plan. The second goal is to renovate the Dollar House, again as identified in the facilities master plan. Third, add food and beverage services to Gateway as identified in both the facilities master plan and the food and beverage study recently completed. Fourth, consider additional improvements at Gateway that may meet demand for small and medium-sized meeting room spaces, again as identified in the facilities master plan. We have been at this in various stages for a while, and we'll start the PowerPoint and kind of review the various places that we have already reviewed. So David, why don't you join us up here?
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. So I hit the, oh, you're on.
Thank you all for having me today. Looks like there's some interest on this project, at least a little bit. So what I'm going to talk about today is how we got here in terms of the other studies that we've done. I'm also going to go through a series of options of where we are right now, some options for discussion. You're going to see a lot of really nice images. I just want to emphasize that computers are amazing and images can be created very quickly. A beautiful image does not mean it's actually been designed. We don't have construction drawings on anything. We are at the entry to this process, and we're looking for everyone's feedback. So Jeff touched on the fact that we have done a number of studies to date over the last couple of years. All of this is feeding off of the original capital improvements plan that was done in 21-22. We've done these studies depending on what has become available at a given time. So this was done just as things came up. So I want to just walk through quickly the studies that we've done. So the first one is we looked at rearranging 800 Rockview, the MOD site, providing a new office building to replace the existing 12,500 square foot modular building. And we looked at a couple of options of relocating the shops as well. This was done as part of the 2021 capital improvements plan. Secondly, we looked at the medical building that's owned by the Golden Rain Foundation at 1220 Rossmore Parkway. We looked at a number of options for this in terms of relocating offices and creating a new town hall concept there. Some of the issues that came up with that building is it is extremely old. It may be sliding down the hill. It is heaving seasonally because only one side of the building actually has piers. The windows would need to be replaced. The HVAC would need to be replaced as well as the roof. So there's a lot of issues with that building. We then looked at 1200 Rossmore Parkway, which is the B of A site at the corner. We looked at a couple of options there, but during that time, it went under agreement, I think, for another lease. We looked fourth at doing just an 800 Rockview admin building in place of the existing 12,500 square foot building. We looked at both one floor versions and two floor versions. And then five, we looked at doing the upper lot at Rockview, which is the high lot. Some of the issues with that is just getting utilities up there. There's an existing EB mud easement that makes the road constricted leading up there. And then we also similarly explored using the FAR RV lot, which is number 6. Again, the same issues with EB mud and the constraints of the street. And then 7, we looked at, again, a 1-story option, replacing the existing modular building at Rockview. And then 8, gateway options. And we've looked at a number of those, and we're going to talk through the most recent versions of those today. I want to emphasize, and Jeff emphasized this, we're at the left. We're at the very starting phase of this. Nothing has been designed. This is a time for community input, and this is going to be a phased project over time. So we are going to have an initial concept for how all of this is going to lay out, and that's what we're working towards today. But then as each one of the individual phases progresses, there'll be an opportunity for community input at that time so that the community can weigh in on more specific parts of each one of those phases. Okay, so I want to move on to option 1. So option 1 of the 3 options we're going to look at today re-envisions the existing modular building as a new build up in Rockview so that those offices would remain at the MOD site, which is essentially the courtyard for the campus. And then we would do accessibility, new cafe, and new multipurpose rooms in Dollar, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. And then at Gateway, we would provide a new cafe and a new boardroom. So I want to dig into that a little more. So all of the options envision some light improvements to Dollar, and that includes a new elevator so the second floor can have accessibility. That includes structurally reinforcing the unreinforced masonry tower at the front, which is one of the historic elements of the project. And it would be enlarging a couple of the rooms, taking a few walls down, both downstairs and upstairs. And you can see those shown in yellow on these plans to open them up to larger meeting rooms that would be more functional for the community. And then we also want to add a cafe on the first floor in place of the existing catering kitchen, which is outdated. So these improvements are envisioned in all of the options that we'll move forward with that you'll see today. Yes, Ted. Yes.
The cafe at Dollar, was that part of the food plan that we did? Did they say that we want a cafe there? Because I know a lot of clubs use that kitchen for catering setups, for stuff that they're going. And if we're going to improve that building, we'll probably get more club use out of it. So I'm wondering if was that part of the food service piece of it, or is that something we just an idea to toss out, maybe be there?
So the food study looked at a number of different facilities in terms of improvements, specific food service out of there, how it would be provided out of there was not really determined. This is one of those elements where once we get into very, very specific design at a facility, we'll start engaging with the clubs. How do they use the facility? What are their requirements? And determine, does it end up as a cafe, as a kitchen, as a multi-use? Those specifics will come later.
I just wanted to make sure that it's not just designated for a cafe place.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. There's always a lot of questions about parking and the increase of vehicles. In fact, this is not unique to this community. Every community parking is probably the single most thing I'm asked about on any project. So certainly the existing parking lot, which services the event center, Dollar, and the future pickleball courts, it's a heavily used parking lot, but it's also has a lot of opportunity to add additional spaces. So just through doing some changes to the curbs and some restriping, we're able to gain 57 spaces in this lot to begin with. And I think, some other strategies can be utilized in terms of management of all the events to make sure that there's not overlaps and other things that can help mitigate any sort of traffic impact. But this particular type of change to get 57 spaces, this is a pretty simple, cheap way of increasing your overall capacity at this site. Moving up to the MOD site, this is an example of how we could lay out offices at a one-floor concept for MOD in the same footprint that we have the existing modulars. I think there's some benefits to this in terms that everyone knows where the location is. The facility could be built specifically for the needs of the community today. If it's a new build and not a modular, it's a long-term asset that can serve the community for another 80 years. And it can have a dedicated administrative function. One of the downsides here is it still is in a corp yard environment, and there still is a gas station in the middle. And it's not the best front door for new residents to come and visit. It does feel very back of house. It also means that the administrative functions are split, and you have some up here and you have some down in Gateway. So there's a lot of different considerations in how we handle this. This is just an idea of what that would look like in terms of having a one-floor building up there. The existing corp yard functions, the maintenance area, all of that would remain as it is today. At the Gateway campus, there's a couple of modifications that we're envisioning in this option. One is to repurpose the existing boardroom. Another is to provide a new cafe, and then remodeling the existing MPR room to be a new boardroom and meeting facility. So this is a concept if we took Fireside and we turned it into a cafe. And we want to be considerate that we understand that there are groups that use this space, and this has got to be part of the process moving forward, as we need to talk to the groups and make sure that we're utilizing the space in the best way possible. But this puts a cafe in a key location within the Gateway campus that's very accessible. So this is one way to envision that space.
Could I just comment on that? So the first time I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's huge. So this would change the structure of that front room of the Fireside room to remove that vestibule-like area. Is that correct?
That would be preferred, yeah.
Okay.
Moving over to the MPR room, this is a potential floor plan of what the new MPR room could be transformed into if it was a board meeting center. So we would widen the building at the boardroom area. This accommodates about 50 visitors for meetings. We could probably fit a couple more rows in for busy days like today. And we wouldn't have to have our backs to people. It also includes a meeting room that could be used both for regular everyday meetings, but it also could be closed session for whatever meeting is in the boardroom. And there's an additional meeting room and some storage.
So, David, before you move on, there's been quite a few questions about why is a new boardroom needed? What is the purpose behind this? The purpose behind this is that it would be a mutual, all of the mutuals meet pretty much on at least a monthly basis, some quarterly. RWC has committees and board meetings. Many of those, especially the mutuals, take place throughout all of the clubhouse buildings. We have over 450 rentals occupying space throughout the clubhouses on an annual basis. Consolidating all of the mutual meetings to one location, not only is it purpose-built, so it's an appropriate space, but it frees up all of those spaces throughout the clubhouses. Thus, you're meeting one of your goals of providing more meeting room spaces for clubs, individual residents, and so forth. So there's a lot of different functions and interest behind creating this mutual and RWC meeting space. Go ahead.
So it's like us taking over this room would be, this meeting would be in something like that, and this room would be available, correct?
Correct. So this is one way of envisioning what that could look like. It transforms the boardroom into more of a council chamber format where you've got a dais at front, and we would have the ability to have screens. The great thing about Building F is it does have a pitch to roof, and it allows the opportunity to maybe do an open ceiling concept like you see here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so option 2. Yeah, sure.
So that one area meeting room where we have all of our mutual meetings and everything, that would be set up for Zoom and everything else so that anybody who couldn't make it to the meeting could Zoom in and see what was going on. And it would be permanent equipment for that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Option 2. So this option envisions relocating the administrative assets at MOD down to Gateway. We're also doing the same renovation at Dollar. So going over to Gateway, we would turn buildings C, which is the building closest to the parking lot, and building B, where the current administrative offices are. We would be renovating both of them to accommodate these new uses. And then the library would be moved over to the existing multipurpose room along with the computer center so that we could have one central resident hub at the center of Gateway. There's been a lot of questions when I was doing the town hall and afterwards about why are we bringing all these administrative uses down to Gateway? There already are a ton of administrative uses at Gateway. In fact, Building B, which has the boardroom, has community services and executive functions, serves as an administrative home at this point. But again, there's administrative services that are resident facing up at MOD now, and the hope is to combine these into one hub that is a community focused hub that it can accomplish both of these uses. So one potential layout of considering how this could work, the boardroom could be located closest to the parking lot where you see in the bottom left, along with a companion meeting room. And then we could have community services, which is resident facing along the main corridor in the new building, as well as Rossmore Property Management Public Services counter. And the Oak Room remains the same. And then we have the cafe that we showed in the fireside room over to the right. The multipurpose room could be repurposed into a library and computer lab. And what you see here, the library you see here is comparable in size to what is existing. It has the same stack space that the existing library has. And the computer lab is slightly larger than what's been provided. So to give you an idea of what that could look like, here's an example of what that library could look like in the multipurpose room if we opened up the ceilings, which again has the pitched open ceiling. And remove the tiles, we could have the open ceiling look that's very similar to what the library has today. And then looking back in the other direction, we could have the computer room, which could be adjacent to the library, similar to what it is today. Parking. A lot of questions about parking. So the existing lot, the photo here is a slightly older photo before the solar panels were installed. But the existing lot is actually somewhat inefficient because it uses angled parking, even though it has sufficient width to allow for parallel parking. So by simply restriping the lot, we can gain 34 new spaces, which is a good advantage. There are other ways to add additional spaces, but the costs start going up. So I think that's going to be part of the process moving forward, is to figure out what the parking impact is going to be and how best to solve that problem. But there's an easy get here to get 34 spaces with some paint. So I'm going to move on to option 3, which is somewhat similar to option 2, but has some additional caveats in terms of the way that we're laying out the community hub. So again, we're doing the same improvements to Dollar. And then over at Gateway, the intent again is to combine buildings B and C to a new community hub and new administrative hub, and provide a new cafe in that space as well to create this combined community asset. And then in this instance, the NPR building is remodeled as a new boardroom and new meeting room, similar to what we saw in the earlier option. So we have 2 ways of thinking about option 3. This is option 3A. And the primary difference is where the cafe is located. In this option, the library, of course, in these options remains unchanged. The computer lab has been relocated. And in this option, the cafe is central to the project. So you walk in the door, you've got the library as it is to the left, and then you continue down the hallway, and then you have a welcoming cafe. And then next to you, you have the counter, public counter for community services. In front of you, the public counter for Rossmore Property Management. And then as you take a right towards Peacock Plaza, you have the computer lab, which has windows to the outside. So this is one way to think about when you walk in from the parking lot. You could have the public counter for community services. The library would be to the left, as it is today. And then you could have a new cafe that is central to the space, and you can see the Rossmore Property Management desk in the far distance. And then it could have seating, and this cafe, we'll have to work with the food service concept, but this could do, pastries, coffee, drinks. This could do hot sandwiches, that sort of thing. So it provides a more casual food service option.
In the picture of the proposed cafe, directionally, the outdoor access would be on the right.
Yes. So if you went to the right down that hall, you would go past the computer lab towards Peacock Plaza.
And there'd be outdoor seating.
We could do outdoor seating. The next option I show moves the cafe into that location, so it has a more indoor-outdoor feel. So in option 3B, the cafe is moved closer to Peacock Plaza, so it's an indoor-outdoor option. And this provides it more natural light. It's not as central, but by putting the computer lab across from the library community services, it doesn't need as much space. So we have space for a small resident lounge that could be located at the center of all of these services. So this is one thought about what that outdoor cafe could look like. You could have outdoor seating. Walnut Creek has great weather, so you can be out there year round. And from the inside, looking down that hall towards the plaza with Rossmore Property Management to the left and a little lounge area to the right, and then the cafe off to the distance. Do you want to talk about funding approach?
Sure. So before we get into the funding, these are the current three alternatives that we will be presenting at the town hall, the open house, and we'll talk about that format here in a minute. But just want to emphasize that these are working kind of concepts. As David mentioned, nothing has been actually designed. There's a number of ways that you can tinker with these, and that's where we're looking for your feedback and impressions of these different options. You can take different elements of different options. So this is a very long process. As that first slide showed, we are just at the beginning of a long process. So moving on to the funding, overall within this capital project, we're looking at being able to fund this from the sale of the medical facility. That is the property at 1220 Rossmore Parkway that is owned by Rossmore Walnut Creek. It is in escrow. It is looking to close escrow in early spring of 27. There are some extension options that could take it into the fall, but that is the main funding source. The net proceeds from that, after we pay off the existing 3 loans that are secured, loans that were used to build the event center, used to renovate and remodel the fitness center, as well as this building we're in here today. Those would be paid off. Remaining funds, about $8 million, would be available then for these projects. And then if you took out a new construction loan, new 15-year construction loan in the 8 to 10 million range, our overall target budget that we're trying to work with is in the 16 to 18 million range. Why that is important is, as we have looked at a variety of alternatives, such as a 2-story concept in a number of places. We looked at a 2-story at Gateway above building B or C. We looked at a 2-story building where the current multi-purpose rooms are located. All of those types of concepts in and of themselves drove the budget to where you wouldn't be able to accomplish a number of other high priorities, such as remodel the Dollar House, or upgrade the Dollar House or look to add food and beverage type amenities. So we're trying to accomplish as much as we can for that 16 to 18 million within our priority list here that I went over at the very beginning. But as the slide shows, we have 3 alternatives that we will be introducing beyond today at the open house. You want to go to the next slide there. So before we talk about the open house, just a few additional considerations within this proposal. One, it doesn't impact our current capital fund. As Ann opened the meeting with, we have a number of projects. We have annual projects such as paving. We have renovation projects to keep all of our existing amenities in good order long-term, such as the lake liner for the golf. All of those we would still be able to continue, as this does not deplete the resources within our capital budget to do that. The debt service on a takeout loan would actually be less than the current about 1.9 million annual debt service that we pay on the existing loans. So it also does not impact the coupon. So I heard that as a major concern. All of our capital projects are funded from the capital project, so this does not impact the coupon. In fact, there are opportunities where it may support the coupon in terms of ability to perhaps lease a portion of the existing MOD building to contractors. It also would bring in modern systems, lighting, and so forth, energy savings opportunities at Dollar, at Gateway, or up at the current MOD site that would help, again, lower the overall impact. So it's not funded by the coupon, and in fact should help support maintaining the coupon. Go ahead.
That is it.
I think that's it. So in terms of, Gerald, can we bring in that other slide? In terms of the open house on May 20th, we currently have 3 time slots that are open, 9, 10, and 11. You can register for those either through My Rossmore, through the phone, or in person. We are taking 100 registrants per time slot. As soon as those fill up, if those do fill up, then we will open additional time slots in the afternoon and make sure that everybody that is interested in attending has the opportunity to attend. We won't be turning anybody away. But we want to keep it to about 100 people so that you have access to all of the display and have the ability to interact with ELS staff who will be there to man each of the stations. When you come on May 20th, what you'll encounter when you first come in the building, we will have large display boards with all of the options that you just saw today, and you will be able to go around and you'll have a form that will look something like this. And it will give a little brief description of each of the display boards that you're looking at. There will be ELS staff there to interact with and ask questions of. And you will be able to provide information. What do you like about that display? What are your concerns? What are your questions, comments about specific elements? Go ahead and switch it. And then as you go through the various options, you will be able to rank the various options from low to high in terms of their impact. What do you like the best? And then overall, go ahead. You'll be able to do that for the things. And then we're asking you for your final thoughts of what are the top things that you like about what you saw? What are the things that you like least about what you saw? We will take all of this feedback and information and continue to work the alternatives, report back to this committee, report back to the community, have a follow-up open house where we present refined ideas. And that process then continues until the board actually and the committee has a solution that they are ready to proceed with. And then as David mentioned, then we start focusing in on specific phases of the project. We get into dollar, and then we start meeting with the dollar, the folks that are work with the dollar, the clubs, the private residents, and start getting stakeholder feedback on those. So a very long engagement process, lots of opportunity for input. What we're looking for from the committee today as you preview the open house and what we have here is if there's any additional feedback, things you want us to address in preparation for the open house.
Questions?
I'd just like to ask David, you're aware of the historic status of the Dollar House, and there is a means of working with that. I assume you're familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. We do a lot of historic work. I had our historian walk the building 3 weeks ago, and I have his preliminary considerations on the building. So we're well aware of that. And the goal here with Dollar is to preserve its historic nature and just tweak it where we have to make it more functional for the community.
Any other questions? Thank you. The
Thank
very
you.
well prepared presentation.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to move on to the member forum. China, will you take it away?
Ready? Okay, yes. Members, you are welcome to speak during this designated member forum at Rossmore, Walnut Creek, RWC, board and committee meetings, either in person or via Zoom. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes and must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning. If speaking on behalf of another member, a signed consent form is required. To speak, members must submit a completed member form slip prior to the start of the forum. Member form slips and guidelines are available at the meetings. For convenience, both the guidelines and forms may also be accessed and printed in advance from the RWC Board and Committee Meetings webpage. Please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating, including during the open forum, attendees agree to and release RWC from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purposes without compensation. For details, including instructions on how to participate, submit written comments, and access printable member form guidelines and forms, please visit myrossmore.com, Rossmore Governance RWC meetings.
And I just want to say, I know people are often frustrated that they only get 2 minutes and that we don't directly comment back to you during these meetings. However, we take everything you have said into consideration. Every comment is in the minutes. Anybody can read them. And believe me, we take them seriously. Please know that the structure is our governance, and we don't comment during the committee meeting or a board meeting to the member forum comments, but we take them into consideration.
First, we'll call Ron Snyder. Ron, if you'll please state your full name and your Rossmore address.
Yes.
You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, 1 second.
Okay.
Timer.
Okay. Okay.
She got her timer too.
Okay,
All right,
here we
we'll
go.
together. Okay.
Ron Snyder, 1752 Stanley Dollar Drive, 1A. I have worked as a structural engineer and have collaborated with an architect, Russell Ogawa. We believe there are viable options to continue to use the Rockview site for MOD or PM, as has been done over the past many years. We're glad to see David's option 1. This will avoid having to move 50 to 55 RPM staff to Gateway and make changes to the Gateway complex that would cause a lot of disruption, including the construction and the parking. It also gives synergy to the RPM staff and the tradespeople to work up at Rockview and Gateway as the residence hub. David's option one. We believe it's very important to maintain the same square footage as we currently have. It appears we do not need any more. That needs to be verified. Option two is to refurbish the current building. We believe that's the most cost-effective option. Of course, we have to verify it is structurally sound. We have to fix the storm and sewage drains. We can make it look better. David says it's not very inviting. We can move the RPM representatives down to the reception area in Building B. Residents can go there. We really ask that in your May 20th meeting, you incorporate the opportunity to refurbish the current building. We would be happy to work with David and his staff to help make this happen for the meeting. Thank you.
Dan Beaton.
My name is Dan Beaton. I live at 1840 Tice Creek Drive. I am concerned about moving staff into Gateway. I believe that adding 50 employees 5 days a week would overwhelm the parking. It would also overwhelm the traffic area around Gateway, and the foot traffic within Gateway would overwhelm that area. I'm also concerned that it would displace Gateway or Rossmore residents from using the Gateway complex. The Gateway complex has been a primary recreational and activity area for Rossmore residents. So I am opposed to any additional staff being moved into Gateway.
Giselle Huff.
Giselle Huff, 600 California, number 3. I'm confused. As I understand it, the purpose of this project is to provide the staff with a viable building in which to work, which it doesn't have now. It would then seem to me that a major consideration about the current choices should be how soon the staff can be moved. The construction start of 2029 and the completion 7 years later doesn't seem to fit the bill. Of the 3 options described in the Rossmore News, the only one that does fit the bill is the renovation of the Rockview site, which then gives rise to the question of where the staff will be located while that goes going on. To quote Jeff's last sentence in the article, quote, "The process will evolve until the board has enough information to decide on a preferred option, and that option may not even exist yet." Here's one. The Lawn Bowling Club has about 44,000 square feet with 3 regulation courts. Suppose we cut that down to 2, i.e. 28,000 square feet. That would leave 16,000 square feet in that location to build a new home for the staff in a much shorter time frame. It also has the advantage of being in a location with existing parking. This should be a priority, with the renovation of Stanley Dollar as a secondary consideration. And I'm also wondering why it's freezing in this room and how much it costs to keep it that way, and elsewhere in Rossmore. Yeah, so I mean, somebody should be adjusting the thermostats.
Barry Bryan.
Barry Bryan, 3874 Terra Granada Drive. Dear board members of the Planning Committee, I know that some members of the Planning Committee attended Monday's CAR presentation of alternative solutions for addressing the office space concerns at Rockview. I was proud of the quality thinking and technical capabilities that our residents demonstrated at that meeting. CAR has made the video of that session available for anybody who missed it. I'm also encouraged by the resident engagement sessions on this topic on May 20th that were described in this week's Rossmore News. This is great progress in applying our collective best thinking to this major strategic investment, one that so many of our residents have taken a strong interest in. A key part of getting this design choice right is accurately projecting the amount of office space that we will need for RPM and accounting services over the coming 5, 10, and further out years. To that end, and consistent with Harry Wong's remarks on Monday, I am requesting that the Planning Committee obtain the services of a qualified NetSuites application consultant to help Rossmore determine the anticipated headcount and office space needs, including work-from-home considerations. My understanding is that a total office space of less than 12,000 square feet should be sufficient, but let's see what the experts tell us about that. Knowing our future office space needs is critical to the design choice because it has a significant impact on the cost and the feasibility of the multiple alternatives. Thank you.
Carl Ingdahl.
My name is Carl Engdahl. I live at 1550 Stanley Dollar. I have lived there for about the last 10 plus years, but I've been involved with Rossmore for 35. More than that, I was a periodontist in the medical facility for 35 years, only working 1 day a week, but I've been involved with Rossmore for a long time. Currently, I'm retired. I retired at 81. I'm 87 now. So this probably isn't going to affect me ongoing, but I care. And I currently am primarily involved in the pool and the jacuzzi. They are good for my back, and I play golf. So pardon me?
And you sing.
I sing, yes, I do. That's the other involvement that makes me involved with the Gateway project, because I've been singing with another group for about 6 or 7 years, and I love it. It's fun, and I think anybody who's walked through there while we're performing, I think they realize the people have a good time. So my beginning is going to be a kind of a rhetorical question saying, why is what isn't more important than what is? I challenge the new board members and the new board to be courageous enough to walk back to the beginning of this opportunity that we're looking at this point. Unfortunately, a lot of us found out about it after it had been thought about for a couple of years, and it seems like it's already sort of decided where we're going, and apparently that's not true. But in my opinion, the original question is, what do we do? Where do we relocate the employees of Rossmore? I heard it said at the large meeting in the event center, where there were only a few people on the stage, but the point was made that Rossmore is not a democracy. That democracies really don't get things done. It was said.
Yeah,
I forget by who.
2 minutes are up. I know,
Oh.
it was interrupted.
All right. I would just say take control back. The strength of Rossmore is the residents. Thank you.
Russell Ogawa.
Russell Ogawa, 5521 Terra Granada Drive, Unit 1B. I am the architect that he referred to, and I'm retired. and I've done 40 years of renovations as well as new construction. I've read about the three options that will be presented on May 20th, two at Gateway and one at Rockview. I support the environmental sustainability in buildings over new if it can produce the same good results at less cost while protecting our past investments, like the steel structure, the great rubber roofing, major HVAC work, and some open office system work. I support the best use of our scarce land and beautiful valley. I do not support replacement if it is done only to make room for another use, not because current space is unusable or substandard. All three options require demolition that doesn't need to occur. We could be providing sustainable option at Rockview. It is there for us to use or lose. I am for code compliance. It protects our investment. Yes, there should be done for major renovations and replacements, but it is not necessary for remodels or refurbishes. There is no indication in Matheson's article that there are any violations in the existing building, but if there were any, we could have addressed them in the past remodels. Code compliance for office use is a straightforward and easy process, especially for a one-story steel frame building. Handicap access is really easy to provide. The repair of the sanitary sewer system, this is a maintenance issue and should be done, but it is not a reason for demolishing the mod building or replacing it. Fixing it can be done for a relatively small cost. The underground storm system is clogged and malfunctioning next to the mod offices.
Sorry that is time.
Okay, I have a paper I wrote on this storm problem you can read. I'll leave it with each of you for your consideration. There you go.
Karen Perkins.
I'm Karen Perkins. I live at 1935 Golden Rain Road. I read Jeff's article about the mission statement, a very long article in the Rossmore News about the mission and vision statements of Rossmore, I imagine, and it was to present a very comfortable retirement for people with nature around where they can have amenities and you know, retired people do want to enjoy their lives at this supposed golden age. And we really don't want to go to a bunch of meetings and work. We thought we'd already done that. Many of us went to a lot of meetings. I did. And we wanted to spend time with our families and our friends and have fun. Okay, so the board often has people who get on it as volunteers, really, and we do appreciate you. And I wanted to say that in that article, with all the mission and vision of Rossmore that Mr. Matheson had, Jeff, may I call you that? Thank you. Basically, there was no mention, and I was somewhat shocked by this, of a word that's been used many times now in the United States called affordability. There was no word about any costs that are accruing to Rossmore residents, particularly those of us who've been here quite a long time, myself included. And the cost of this project, yes, that we can say that it's all from our coupon. I mean, it's not from our coupon, it's from the transfer fees. But the reality is that residents pay everything that happens in Rossmore.
That is time.
Thank you.
David Doan.
Hi, I'm David Doan. I'm at 2209 Golden Rain Road, And I just want to say I appreciate all the comments that people have made. I appreciate that we have the alternatives that you've presented. I'm not going to comment on that. There's one little thing, though, that I have not heard mentioned, and this is the dollar house. And I just want to put it out there, and I know it sounds like it may be approached once that point process comes around, but it sounds like what's being planned to be done is taking the catering kitchen away and putting a cafe in. And I'm curious what the number, every time I go over there, and often I go over there, there's events going on with clubs. I've had my own private event there and had it catered. And if there's not really another option in Rossmore that has a beautiful setting like that where that can happen. And so I'm just wondering if anybody's looked at the number of events with clubs and private people that have gone on there. And right across the street, we're going to have the Golden Pear, which will be a food service and a place that can be used for that also. So I just want to make sure that that's something that is looked at and considered. And it sounds like there will be an option for that once you get to the dollar, the dollar renovation. But I just wanted to make sure that that was out there. Thank you.
Mary England.
Good morning, I'm Mary England, 1200 Fairlawn Court, entry 5, number 8. And I think that there will be some sacrifice involved in the new administration relocation project. I prefer to call it RWC administration relocation than to assume it will be Dollar Gateway project. The trust agreement, which has existed between the mutuals and their members and Golden Rain Foundation, now doing business as RWC, has been in place since 1964. The trust agreement states that RWC exists to manage the facilities and amenities on behalf and solely on behalf of the members and the mutuals. So I do think a $18 million project involves a great deal of consultation with the members and mutuals, and I congratulate you on the start with the open house. There's an option 4 I would like you to consider. It is to replace the Dollar Clubhouse with an office tower and underground parking. It leaves in place many of the current facilities. So I'm suggesting that. Thank you.
Catherine Boggs. Catherine.
Catherine Boggs, 1156 Running Springs Road, number 9. And I'd just like to point out that she just said I wasn't even born when Rossmore was founded. So as a Gen X perspective, we will be moving, I think the next generation of Rossmorians will be really in an AI environment. I just signed up for the meeting next week. Thank you for the new website. And I think Team Matheson is starting to take everybody, and ELS is starting to take everybody's input. One of my concerns overall is terms of costs, the fact of going into debt again after this. I think I really question the crumbling general infrastructure of all of Rossmore sewer systems and everything else, or trees that have grown up that are falling down. And so those costs, do we need to save money versus going into debt and start saving money? Because that's why I was able to retire so early, because I saved my money. And I hope to stay at Rossmore for 30 years because I saved my money, and I hope Rossmore considers saving some money too. Thank you.
Lenore DeCruz.
Hello, my name is Lenore De Cruz, address 2157 Golden Rain Road. Just a couple of comments. One, on option 2, when they talked about additional parking by relining the spaces, bad idea, since if you don't have them like that and you have them like this, it is much more difficult to park. And especially for us older persons. So that's one. And the other, another one, option 3, where it said you see the cafe and then you see property management right there. The two don't really go together with a feeling of, you know, community. Anyways. And then option 2 and 3 are labeled as gateway as a resident hub. And I don't think that's correct. And I think that's why people reacted. It's like, because those are the options where the staff, you know, comes down and works at Gateway. So it's not really a resident hub anymore. And then the other one, I really like that idea of, it's crazy, but to, you know, she just came up and talked about, you know, raising the dollar clubhouse and having a tower and underground parking. It's crazy. And then the other one that I think could also be considered is the one that deals with the lawn bowling area. So, and I think that's it.
Adriana Steinwell.
My name is Adriana Steinwedell. I'm at 1724 Golden Rain Road. And a couple of things I noticed on the original plan of the Gateway Complex, you don't even mention the Redwood Room. It's not even listed. It's not defined. Lately, that's been a social hub and sometimes even overcrowded at times. And I see no opportunity in any of these for what you're going to do to replace the Redwood Room. I saw one very much smaller place that they talked about, a community gathering place, but that would even be smaller. So I'm concerned about that. I'd like to see something of the Redwood Room put in there. The other thing is I'm going to be out of town next week. So I'm hoping that you're going to have a lot more opportunities to show the plans and let us comment on them.
I don't have any member forums online over Zoom. That completes our member forum for today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. So our next meeting of the Planning Committee will be Thursday, June 11th at 10 a.m. Currently scheduled for the boardroom, but we might move it. So this meeting is adjourned.